School, brought to you by Multiplying Talents. My name is Aretha Simons, and I'm so glad to be here with you today because this is one of my most favorite things to do, and that is sharing everything that I have learned over the past 20 years in the nonprofit and grant writing world. Today, we're going to be talking about what is a grant. I get so many calls from people saying, I need a grant for this and I need a grant for that. And when I ask them if they have a grant proposal written that I could kind of flip, 99% of the time, they don't. So we're going to discuss what is a grant. And then we're going to talk about what is a grant proposal. Your grant proposal is like your baby or your child because it's something that will be a part of you throughout your entire life cycle of your nonprofit. Then it'll be your turn to ask questions, get some answers to the questions you ask, you want to know about. This is a great time to find out those questions that you've been thinking about asking a professional grant writer. And a lot of times you'll hear questions asked from other people that you may have wanted to ask yourself. And it's like, oh, I wanted to ask that question and now I don't have to ask. So let's just get right into it. So what is a grant? A grant is defined as an award in the nonprofit world. But I want you to think of your grant as a tool for your nonprofit to use to address issues that's important to you and your community. Usually, you don't have to pay back a grant. However, there are cases like the SBA grants, and then there are other grants out there that you should definitely read the fine print on when you're applying. But what I want you to think about a grant as a grant is simply a gift. And sometimes that gift comes in the form of money, which I know we all want. And sometimes it comes in the form of in kind gifts. Some of the examples of in kind gifts could be services, it could be office space, it could be land, it could be furniture, and even training. So let's talk about what a grant is not. A grant is not just a written document that we just submit to potential funders. Generally, their awards, grants are awarded after you submit a written proposal, hence the name grant proposal. So let's discuss what a grant proposal is. Most nonprofits think of a grant proposal as a request for money. And a grant proposal, again, is not just a request for money. What it is something much more than that. To a funder, a grant is an investment in positive change. And what do all investors want? An investor always want a return on their investment. So an investor thinks of their money as seed that they plant in you in exchange for you to make an impact on issues that you both care about. So I want you to take a look at a grant proposal as a two-way call to action. The funder has given you a call to action by releasing a request for proposal. That's also known as a RFP. And then you're asking the funder to join you in creating change through a well written story using facts and demographics from your community. Now, you're going to use your words to paint a picture for the funder. And I want you to keep it real now. So write down realistic possibilities and then tell the funder exactly how you'll spend their money or their investment. Never ever tell them that you're going to end homelessness. Tell them how many people you'll help find a permanent home to live in. Because remember, the point of the grant award is not just about the money, it's a tool to help you address those important issues within your community. So I always tell people to be ready to be ready. Now, what do I mean by that? If you've ever written a grant proposal, or if you've never written a grant proposal, let's say that, and the opportunity comes for you to submit a proposal, but you only have 10 days before the deadline, then you may miss out on some details if you're not grant ready. Or if you plan to hire a grant writer, you should be ready to give that grant writer something to flow from because they usually get paid by the hour. And remember, you're trying to get money, not spend more money. So, it takes money to make money. So, you want to be ready to be ready. And remember, a grant is not something that can be cooked like minute rice. It requires careful thought and planning. So, the better you plan on the front end, the greater the likelihood that your program would be successful, not just in obtaining the grant, but in making a difference in the lives of others. And that's really what it's all about, right? So let me do a recap. A grant is simply a gift. Sometimes a gift comes in form of money or in-kind gifts. If you want to be successful in the grant writing world, always talk about your nonprofit in the community. Share your testimonies or your stories of how great your nonprofit is doing, or even areas where you need help. Share your information from your proposal. Pull some power paragraphs or pull some power words, some power sentences. This is a great way to get more money by sharing on social media. You can also have opportunities for more in-kind donations. And what's really important is volunteers that can help you accomplish your mission. Now, what is a grant proposal? Again, a grant proposal is a call to action. You're going to use your words to paint a picture in writing for the funder to invest in your organization and join you in creating change in your community. The last thing I want to do is answer some questions for you, but what I want you to do is visit grantwritingschool.org. You can download a 3-page sample grant proposal application. If you've never completed a grant proposal application, download it and use it. Take advantage and use it as a guide to help you with future grants. So now I'm going to open up the floor for questions.
Glenn, and I'm from Plano, Texas.
Okay, great.
And my question to you is you mentioned about social media. So when you mentioned social media, what did you mean by on social media? Did you mean finding grants on social media, like requests for proposals, or just putting on social media that I'm looking for a grant?
That is a great question. So you wouldn't put on social media, quote unquote, I'm looking for a grant, but you would take some elements or some power words or some power paragraph or a testimony from your grant proposal to put on social media. For example, you say, hey, we just fed I'm just going to say 5,000 people, and this Friday we're going to feed another 5,000, but we need your help. Here's our wish list. Here's the things we need. We need 5,000 pounds of rice. We need XYZ. So those are the things you want to put on social media because number one, it's going to let people know what you do. It's going to tell people about your baby. Remember, your grant is like your baby. And then it's going to maybe get some more volunteers for you, or maybe have people do in-kind donations if they're not doing monetary donations. So that's what I meant by sharing it on social media. That's a great question.
Okay, perfect. Now that clears up some things for me because as you post on social media about what you do, so basically with your and I don't mean to take up if anybody else has
this
questions.
is about you. Go ahead.
So if I lost my train of thought. Okay, so by posting on social media, um, should it be best that you have a page that's strictly for your nonprofit organization?
I think you should have a page strictly for your nonprofit organizations because people who are going to give you money, like funders, whenever you do apply for a grant, they're going to ask you what your website is and they're going to look for you on social media. So when they go to that page, they want to see, you at your birthday party. They want to see you in action in the community. So you should definitely have a page just for your nonprofit. Now, if you do have a separate page for your personal self, you should also be posting on that page too, but you should definitely have a separate page for your nonprofit.
Okay. And then I know this I know you're talking about grants and what have you, but I want to ask a question about crowdfunding.
Okay, great.
Um, would you say that would be a great tool to raise money for your nonprofit organization?
I think it's an excellent tool for raising money because you want to do everything that you can to raise money, and crowdfunding is an excellent tool. That's why crowdfunding was birthed, because they knew that you can reach a lot of people at one time through social media using crowdfunding. So yes, that's another tool to use.
Okay.
Um,